May the name of the Lord be praised, both now and forever. In our gospel reading today, Jesus, seeing the enormity of the work to be done, appointed 70 persons to join the workforce in order to reach out to more people and bring them to the kingdom of God. The 70 persons accepted and went out and proclaimed the gospel and healed the sick. They returned with joy, saying, "Lord, even the demons were subject to us in your name." Brothers and sisters, we who profess faith in Jesus form part of the 70 that Jesus is sending out today to continue the same mission. Every baptized Christian has been called and appointed by Jesus. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, titled his message in the month of October, "Baptized and Sent, the Church of Christ on Mission in the World." The church of today is blessed with many believers or laborers. But how many of these laborers or believers are consciously bearing witness to the gospel by words of the mouth and by our way of life? Very few persons are doing so. As such, we can say that in the time of Jesus, the harvest was plentiful, but laborers were few. In our own time, the laborers are many, but are unwilling to work. Whenever we talk about evangelization, we often focus our attention on going out of our homes to preach and minister to others. Most times we forget that witnessing should first of all begin from our homes. How many of us who are baptized and confirmed in the Catholic Church are bearing witness today? How many of our family members are bearing witness to the gospel? How much has the gospel and faith we profess influenced our lives, influenced your life as a husband, as a wife, as a youth, as a child? Do we live Christ-like life? To the parents, many of you evangelize your children through infant baptism. How much have we parents and guardians catechized our children we brought into the faith through infant baptism? Has the Catholic faith which you brought them into through infant baptism taking roots in their lives? Are they now convinced about the faith you entrusted to them in baptism? Are they convinced about the faith they profess on Sundays? Or they are just following you to avoid your trouble? Brothers and sisters, how many of our children are still practicing Catholics today? Some obviously have left you in the Catholic Church and gone to some other places. For those who have left, what are the reasons why they left you in the Catholic Church? It's a question we must answer if we are sincere with evangelization. Was it as a result of your inability to properly catechize and evangelize your children? Because the work to be done must be done by parents, not by priests. We only have 15 minutes or 20 minutes for homily and you go home. But your kids have 7, 8, 9, 10 hours with you. We can't do much with just 15 minutes homily. So a lot depends on parents. Why have they left you to other places? Did you help them to understand the Bible, the catechism, Catholic prayers, and the doctrine of the church? Brothers and sisters, many of our young people today are into hard drugs. Some are joining all manner of secret cults and taking part in ritual activities. Some are into all kinds of things, addictions. Some are engaged in homosexual activities. Some of these young people are from families. They do not come from the sky. And some of them are from even Catholic homes. And their parents are active in the church in different parishes. This homily is inviting us to go back home and re-evangelize the members of our families. Let us consciously look inwards and begin the witnessing from our homes. An African proverb says that one whose house is on fire does not run after or chase after rats. And so, before we think of evangelizing others outside our homes, we must first of all begin from our homes. It is often said that charity begins from the home. The work of evangelization is a charity work. Hence, it must begin from our homes. Shall we really claim to be successful Catholic Christians if members of our families are not deeply rooted in the faith we brought them in through infant baptism? The answer is blowing in the wind. The mission of the 70 was very, very successful. They came back with testimonies of how their preaching made so much impact on the people. Are those of us who are believers today making the same impact in our society? Are we making positive impacts in our family, working places? Truly, there are many churches springing up in different places, especially in Nigeria. But does the behavior of the preachers, pastors and priests, prophets and believers correspond to the standard of the gospel? Evangelization is not and should not be restricted to preaching alone. There are other ways we can evangelize and bear witness to the gospel. We can evangelize through works of charity, touching and changing the lives of people through selfless charity works. We can evangelize through hospital and prison visitation to give hope to those who are hopeless. We can also evangelize using our positions in the office, business, church, government, especially political positions. There are many Christians who are in politics and in this government, but how many of them are promoting Christian principles? How many of them are living Christian principles? How many of them speak out against injustice and evil in our country? How many of our Christian legislators sponsor bills and promote policies that promote the Christian values? How many of them are proud to speak or defend the Catholic faith or the Christian faith in public? Unfortunately, many of those who loot our common resources today are Christians. Is that evangelization? The truth is, we preach the gospel more effectively by our good example. Father Matthew V. says, good example is better than preaching or advice because of its far-reaching influence. Try to be an example to others by living an authentic life. Then others will imitate you and in turn also become good examples. The early believers were first called Christians in Antioch, not only because they went to church regularly, but because they lived like Christ and made positive impact on the people. Good example is powerful and very effective in evangelization. There is a quote attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. It says, preach the gospel always. If necessary, use words. In other words, our life is a powerful instrument of evangelization. Action, they say, speaks louder than words. As a husband, as a wife, are you good examples to your children? Are your children yearning and longing to be like you because of how you conduct yourself? If we live right, we make positive impact and draw others to God. If we live badly, we make negative impact and draw people away from Christ. Dear brothers and sisters, let us therefore resolve to live right so that we may draw everyone to Christ and to the faith, beginning from members of our families. In our first reading, the prophet Isaiah described in poetic and symbolic language the prosperity and peace which the new Jerusalem will enjoy. His intention was to encourage the returned exiles who were depressed and downcast when they saw their beloved capital in ruins. This state of affairs will soon end, and Jerusalem will be greater, more peaceful, and more prosperous than she was before. And so he calls on his fellow Jews to rejoice and be glad. Like the Jewish people, many Nigerians are depressed and feel very bad and downcast because our country is littered with the blood of innocent citizens and even with the blood of anointed men of God. Just yesterday, a classmate of mine was kidnapped. He's still with them as I speak to you now. We have been taken into exile in our own land. We now live like strangers and in fear because of the presence of some wicked herdsmen, bandits, and kidnappers, gunmen who are out to kidnap and slaughter human beings like chickens. We too desire glad tidings of peace and a new Nigeria, and pray for God's consolation as given to the people of Jerusalem. For Nigerians are living in fear, distress, agony, and pain. However, for God to give us a new Nigeria, we must all cooperate with Him and do our part as well. One of the practical things we must do to save Nigeria from sinking is to get our voters card, PVC, and go out on election day and cast our votes. Let us not put this new wine that God is about to give us into old wineskins. If we do, it will surely burst and the wine will spill. A new Nigeria must never be entrusted into the hands of outdated, clueless, wicked, visionless, and selfish politicians. Let us not vote tribe, religion, party, or region, as we are used to in this country. But vote persons, trusted persons, reliable and visionary leaders, irrespective of where they come from. Failure to do this, we shall all sink together. It is only a matter of time. He who has ears, let him hear.